Miriam woke up early as always. The sun had just started shining through her small window. She stretched and smiled. Her tiny but clean apartment in Ibadan was quiet and peaceful. Miriam loved mornings. That was when her mind felt fresh, and her heart was full of ideas. She stood from her bed, tied her hair in a scarf, and walked straight to her sewing machine. Her room was small, but it was enough. One side was for sleeping, and the other side was where her magic happened, sewing. Neatly arranged fabrics of all colors sat on her table. Some were shiny, some soft like baby skin, and others had loud patterns that danced in the light. Miriam touched one Ankara fabric and smiled. It was for Mama Joy, the woman who sold fruits down the road. People in the neighborhood loved Miriam. Not just because she could sew clothes better than anyone else, but because she was kind. She listened to old women talk for hours. She helped students fix torn uniforms for free. And no matter how tired she was, she always smiled. By afternoon, customers started coming. One by one, they brought fabrics and styles, some simple, others too complicated. Miriam always found a way to make it work. She would sketch, measure, cut, and sew until the outfit looked perfect. Every day felt like a great day for Miriam. The moment she sat in front of her tailoring machine, she felt alive. Her fingers moved like magic, pressing the pedal, guiding the fabric, and watching as a plain piece of cloth turned into something beautiful. It wasn't just work, it was her joy, her peace, her everything. Her sewing machine was old but strong. Miriam cleaned it every night, spoke to it like an old friend, and always whispered, "Don't break down on me today." And it never did. Her relationship with her neighbors was perfect. They loved her not just for her skill, but for the way she treated everyone with respect. Or young girls from the university would walk in saying, "Our hostel friend said you sew the best outfits in town." Miriam never advertised herself. She didn't need to. Word of mouth carried her name far and wide in Ibadan. Though she was always busy, she found ways to meet every deadline. Some nights she would sew until her eyes became heavy and her back hurt. She would whisper to herself, "Just one more stitch," and keep going. There were no loud arguments in her compound. No fights. People respected her. She smiled at children, greeted elders with both hands, and never ignored a knock at her door. It was a peaceful life. But peace is a strange thing. It can disappear without warning. One quiet morning, the sky was a soft blue and the air smelled like wet dust from the early rain. Miriam had just swept the front of her shop and was sipping hot pap when she saw a woman walking toward her. The woman was not young, but she was still very beautiful. Her skin was smooth, her dress clean and elegant, and she wore light makeup that made her look graceful. She walked slowly but with confidence. Miriam stood and smiled as she approached. "Good morning, my dear," the woman said softly, her voice calm and kind. "Good morning, Ma," Miriam replied, bowing slightly. "Please come in." The woman looked around the small shop with interest. She smiled when she saw how neat everything was, the folded fabrics, the pins in the cushion, the measuring tapes hanging like necklaces. "You keep your space clean." "I like that," the woman said, sitting on the only stool beside the table. "Thank you, Ma." "I try," Miriam said shyly. The woman placed her handbag gently on the table and brought out two large pieces of fabric. One was deep green with gold patterns, the other was shiny purple silk. "I want to sew 2 dresses," she said. One long and simple, the other more fitted, like what young girls wear to weddings. Miriam nodded, her mind already planning the designs. She took measurements, careful not to rush. After the measurements, the woman reached into her purse and brought out some money. "Here's half. I'll come back in 2 weeks to collect the dresses," she said, handing Miriam the money. Miriam counted it quickly and smiled. "Thank you, Ma. I'll start working on it today. Before leaving, the woman turned and said something odd. Make sure the stitches are tight. I hate it when clothes fall apart. Miriam nodded again, a little puzzled. Of course, Ma. I always so strong. The woman smiled one last time and left. Exactly 2 weeks later, just as the sun was beginning to hide behind the clouds, the woman returned. She arrived in a clean black car that stopped right in front of Miriam's small shop. When she stepped out, she wore a wide smile and a beautiful scarf tied neatly around her hair. Miriam stood up quickly and welcomed her in. Good afternoon, Ma. You're welcome. I hope my dresses are ready, the woman said cheerfully, stepping inside and looking around the shop again like she was visiting a familiar place. Yes, Ma. Please have a seat, Miriam said as she reached for a clean nylon bag from the shelf. She gently brought out the 2 finished dresses, the long green one with golden buttons and the fitted purple one with sleek curves. The woman's eyes widened the moment she saw them. These are beautiful, she gasped, touching the soft fabric. So clean, so well stitched. My dear, you are gifted. Miriam smiled shyly. Thank you, Ma. I'm glad you like them. Like them. I love them, the woman said, laughing softly. You've done exactly what I wanted. She paid the remaining balance without being reminded and even added a little extra. Buy yourself a cold drink, she said kindly. Miriam thanked her deeply. God bless you, Ma. The woman nodded and left, her perfume lingering in the air like the ending of a sweet song. Months passed, and Miriam nearly forgot about her. But then, one sunny afternoon, the woman returned. This time, she brought another fabric, this one, a rich velvet material the color of midnight. She didn't just stay to give instructions. She sat down. She laughed. She asked Miriam questions about her life, her family, her dreams. From that day forward, things changed. She began visiting Miriam more often. Sometimes, she would come without any fabric at all, just to sit and talk. She brought snacks. She brought juice. Miriam grew fond of her. The woman, whose name was Stella, became like a big sister. She would compliment Miriam's work, ask about her health, and even surprise her with little gifts. And true to her word, Stella introduced Miriam to her friends. One by one, wealthy women began visiting Miriam's little shop. They came with smiles, fancy cars, and bags of fabric. Soon, the tiny shop that once only served the neighborhood began to attract people from outside, doctors, lawyers, businesswomen. Miriam's name was spreading fast. One warm evening, just as Miriam was closing for the day, Stella arrived again, this time carrying a small box in one hand and a mirror with a golden frame in the other. She walked in with a bright smile and said, Miriam, today I didn't come for sewing. I came to thank you. Miriam looked surprised. Thank me? For what, Ma? For your hard work. For your patience. And for being a good friend, Stella said gently. She opened the box and revealed a shiny silver wristwatch, the kind that sparkled when the light hit it. I bought this for you, she said, handing it over. And this mirror is for your shop. So you can look at yourself and see how beautiful and strong you are. Miriam stood still for a moment. Her heart was warm, but her mind was confused. No one had ever gifted her anything like that before. She felt like crying, but she held herself. Thank you so much, Ma, she whispered. This means a lot to me. You deserve it, Stella replied. After she left, Miriam stood alone in the shop, holding the mirror and the watch. She smiled to herself. It felt like a dream. That night, before going home, she cleaned a space on her wall and gently hung the mirror inside her shop, just beside her sewing table. It looked beautiful, glowing softly in the evening light. But the next morning, something felt different. Miriam woke up very tired. Her eyes were heavy, and her body ached. She thought maybe she had worked too late the night before. She dragged herself out of bed, dressed slowly, and walked to her shop. When she sat at her sewing machine, she couldn't focus. Her hands were weak. Her thoughts felt cloudy. She looked around the shop and paused at the new mirror. It stared back at her. She rubbed her eyes and tried to ignore the strange feeling growing in her chest. Maybe it was just stress. Maybe she needed rest. After some time, Miriam started to feel better. Her body didn't ache as much, and her tiredness slowly faded. She began sewing again and told herself everything was fine. But something had changed. She couldn't explain it, but things didn't feel the same anymore. Her mind wasn't as sharp. Her hands, which used to move smoothly, now made small mistakes. Threads tangled. Needles broke. Fabrics got cut the wrong way. The first time she gave a customer the wrong style, she thought it was just an accident. The second time, she blamed it on being too tired. But by the third and fourth time, the complaints started coming. This is not what I asked for. My sleeve is too tight. Why is my zip broken? Miriam's heart broke every time someone got angry. She would apologize, fix what she could, and even return money just to keep the peace. But the whispers had already begun. People in the neighborhood started saying, "What's wrong with her? She was never like this. She used to sew so perfectly. Now everything she does is wrong. She's not even as friendly as before. Maybe something is wrong in her life." Even the students who once rushed to her for urgent dresses now went elsewhere. Only a few people stayed, Mama Joy, Tolu's mother, and one or two old customers who still believed in her. They brought her little jobs to keep her going, but it wasn't enough. Weeks turned to months, and Miriam's shop no longer buzzed with life. No more laughter. No more excited voices asking for new styles. The air felt heavy, like something invisible had wrapped around the place and refused to let go. Miriam tried to stay strong, but she was slowly sinking. She couldn't afford new fabrics. She had to use her own money to replace dresses she had ruined. Some customers didn't even come back for their clothes, they just walked away angry. Miriam knew she needed a break. Her heart was tired. Her mind was always heavy. The smiles she used to wear had disappeared. So one day, she packed a small bag and left Ibadan to visit her mother in the village. It had been almost a year since she last saw Mama. The moment she stepped off the bus, then took a taxi to the family compound and saw her mother waiting with open arms, tears filled Miriam's eyes. "Mama," she whispered. "My daughter," Mama said, hugging her tightly. "You look thinner. Are you okay?" Miriam forced a smile. "I'm just tired, Mama. Very tired." Days passed. The village was peaceful. The air was fresh. The sky was wider, the stars brighter, and the nights quieter than anything in the city. Miriam slept more than she had in months. Her mother cooked warm meals and massaged her feet with herbs. Slowly, Miriam began to feel like herself again. One evening, while they both sat under the big mango tree behind the house, Miriam spoke up. "Mama, I need to tell you something." Her mother turned to her and listened. Miriam told her everything, how her shop was dying, how she kept making mistakes while sewing, how customers were leaving, and how sometimes she forgot simple things. She even told her about Stella, and the beautiful mirror and wristwatch. As she spoke, Mama's face slowly changed from worry to deep concern. "You said she gave you a mirror?" her mother asked carefully. "Yes," Miriam nodded. "And a watch?" Her mother went quiet for a long time. "Miriam," she said at last. "I know this may sound strange, but you must listen. Some people don't always come into your life with good plans. Some people use gifts to trap others. A mirror can be used by witches to watch their victims, steal their glory, and block their success. Miriam's heart skipped. You must go back to Ibadan, Mama said firmly. And when you do, destroy that mirror. And the watch too. Burn them. Do not keep even one piece. Miriam stared at her mother in shock. Spending time with her mother brought healing to Miriam's soul. For the first time in months, she laughed freely. She slept deeply without strange dreams. She ate real food and felt loved again. But her heart knew it was time to return. When she arrived back in Ibadan, the air felt heavy. Her shop was quiet, just the way she left it. Dust had gathered on the table, and the fabrics looked dull. But her eyes went straight to the wall, to the golden-framed mirror. It still hung there, staring at her. Watching. Her chest tightened, but she remembered her mother's words. Destroy it. Don't keep even a piece. With shaky hands, Miriam stepped forward. She reached up, took the mirror off the wall, and placed it on the floor. The wristwatch Stella had given her was inside a drawer. She took it out too. Her hands trembled, but she didn't stop. She walked outside, found an empty spot behind her shop, and placed the mirror and the watch together. She poured kerosene over them. Her heart was racing, her eyes wet with tears. She whispered, "Whatever you are, whatever you did to me, it ends now." Then she lit the match. The fire rose quickly, orange flames licking the sky as the glass cracked and the watch melted. She stepped back, her chest rising and falling. She was scared, but she didn't run. She stood there until the fire died. That night, for the first time in a long while, she slept without pain. Days passed. Then weeks. Something began to change. Her fingers no longer shook when she sewed. Her mind felt clear. She started waking up early again, full of strength. The joy of sewing returned. Her mistakes stopped. Her laughter came back. And then, the customers returned. One after the other, new faces walked into her shop. Some said, "I heard about you from a friend." Others said, "Someone on Instagram recommended you." Even old clients who had stopped coming began to return, surprised to see her glowing. Miriam didn't understand how it was all happening, but she was thankful. She no longer felt weak. No more headaches. No more confusion. Just peace. And deep down, she knew it. The darkness had been broken. And that was how she was able to break free from the bondage and spells. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you learned a few valuable lessons from the story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to support the channel. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to drop a comment below. See you in the next video.